Okay, so this is the egg mobile. It gets moved every single morning so that the birds are on to fresh pasture every day. And there's a number of purposes being served here. Obviously the number one is good, clean egg production. Since about the 1950s and 60s, a lot of governments and restaurants and food production facilities have been really concerned about getting salmonella in the raw egg, and so there's a lot of egg pasteurization going on. It used to be that you would go get an orange Julius and they had raw eggs in it, or you'd get a mayonnaise with raw eggs in it. And in this sort of new corrupted world we live in, everybody's afraid of raw eggs. They got to wipe the counter after raw eggs. And that salmonella risk is caused by one thing. It's caused by the ammonia levels in the barns being so high that it burns lesions into the birds' lungs, so they've got bloody spots in their lungs. And then they're breathing in all this poop dust in their barns, and they're getting that bacteria load right into their bloodstream, and then they lay it right into the egg. And so here, it's nice fresh air. We got the pasture breeze coming through. There's no stink anywhere even remotely close to being here. So these birds have all got healthy lungs, which means they're laying clean, healthy eggs. And this model, they're getting their sunshine. We've got the tractor and the structure and this old dilapidated hay wagon behind it, providing shelter from the sun and from the weather and from hawks. We make sure that we've got roosters in with them, even though they don't lay eggs and we still have to feed them. We make sure that we've got the roosters because as soon as there's an overhead predator, the roosters will round up all the ladies, bring them back underneath the structure, and keep everybody safe. So I don't think we've lost a single bird to hawks all season long here. But the other really cool purpose of this, the cows are only about 10 feet away here, and this has been grazed, let's see, 4 days ago. And they go around, the chickens do, and you can kind of see on the ground here, maybe we'll take some close-ups, that the chickens scratch apart all the cow pies and spread them. Normally you'd have to get a tractor and harrows and break up your cow pies just to let the grass come through and keep the cows from being disgusted by them. The chickens do all that work for us. They scratch through, they eat out any fly larvae that are forming in there, which means our fly population stays way down. And also, and you'll see this, anywhere there was buffalo or wildebeest, big herds of ruminating herbivores on any of the landscapes in the world, you'll also see big flocks of birds following them. And so this is just the farming version of that. We have our cows come through and we bring in birds behind because that's the natural order, that's the way things were designed. And by implementing this model, we're getting much higher fertility. You can see, I don't know if you see it, but there's a chicken right there. He's got a grasshopper. So they're taking advantage of natural protein, and the more natural animal-based protein you get into a chicken's diet, the higher the nutritional value of the eggs. You can't just keep feeding them vegetable. They're not vegetarians, they're omnivores. So they need that balance between grain and animal protein that you get out of the larvae and the crickets and the grasshoppers and all of those other creatures. And so it's a beautifully orchestrated model where you use all of your animals synergistically together to get more than you would have gotten out of them had you kept them separated. And so I can't stress this enough, diversified farming with as many organisms per acre as possible. It's the only way that you can permanently rid your farm of disease. You can't sit there and keep treating diseases. You have to return to the designed model for creating food and fertility. So all that happens is we come out here with a quad, open the big door, and there's laying boxes in there, and all the hens go up and they lay their eggs in there, and as soon as they're done, they come right back out and live their life here on the pasture. If it were quite a bit cooler, as evening comes and the shadows get longer, you'll start to see these chickens spread out, and they'll cover and they'll be running underneath the cows over here, and they'll move as far as 300 or 400 feet away from this structure. But during the heat of the day, they'll all sort of stay in this strip in the shade here, and there's a whole bunch of them inside eating as well. And so, but it's a very versatile model. If we get cold nights, I can close all those windows and the structure's spray foamed. it's a result of thinking creatively and solving the real problems that exist in farming. And the real problem is not how do I make the most amount of money. The real problem is how can I keep things as healthy as possible so that you don't have a whole barn full of hens suddenly have to get exterminated because they all got the flu together. And so factory farming is about this fragile system where you get as many eggs as possible in the shortest amount of time, but nobody's calculating the cost of having to wipe out whole flocks of birds, or the cost of everybody, they'll say eggs have high cholesterol and they're bad for your heart. Well, that's only the case if the birds are being raised on crappy genetically modified foods and oils and stuff. So in a natural model like this, the cholesterol that will be in these eggs will be good for your heart. And the environmental or the industrial agriculture systems don't take into account the cost to human health, the cost of all of our hospitals having to keep all these people alive because they're being poisoned. And so this is the solution for the birds, it's the solution for the pasture, it's the solution for managing insect populations, it's the solution for healthy people, it's the solution for everything. Plus it's beautiful. It's not an ugly system, it's not a giant concrete barn, it doesn't have massive whirring fans, it's not using massive amounts of fossil fuel and electricity. It's just a simple system that could be reproduced all over the countryside if people were willing to change the direction they're taking and adopt a more natural, agreeable, beautiful system.